I still remember the first time I met Ion. It was one of those evenings when the rain refused to stop, pouring endlessly and turning the city into a blur of silver and gold lights. My umbrella had broken, the last bus had already left. And I stood there on the sidewalk, soaked, tired, and a little defeated. Just then, a car slowed down beside me. The window rolled down, and a calm, warm voice said, "Hey, looks like you could use a ride." That voice belonged to Ion. He had that effortless charm, confident, but not arrogant, kind, but mysterious. The sort of man who made you feel safe just by the way he spoke. I hesitated for a moment, weighing my options. But the rain was merciless, and something about his tone made me trust him. So I got in. He drove smoothly through the wet streets, making small jokes about how the rain seemed to have a personal grudge against the city. I laughed, something I hadn't done all day. He noticed that and smiled. "That's better," he said. "You have a beautiful smile. I hope I see it again." When he dropped me off, I thanked him, completely unaware that this small act of kindness would mark the beginning of something far from beautiful. Back then, I thought he was a stranger who appeared at the right time. I didn't know he'd become the reason I'd cry myself to sleep months later. Because Ion wasn't just a charming stranger. Behind that gentle smile and those kind eyes hid a storm, one that would slowly, quietly, and completely destroy the world I thought I understood. The next few weeks felt like I had stepped into a dream I never wanted to wake up from. Ion became a constant part of my days. His messages were the first thing I saw in the morning and the last before I went to sleep. He remembered everything I ever mentioned, even the smallest details. My favorite coffee order, the way I liked soft music playing while I worked, and my little habit of tapping my foot when I got nervous. It felt like he was paying attention in a way no one ever had before. He'd say things that melted my heart. Like, "You're different, Maya. You're not like anyone I've ever met." And I believed him. Who wouldn't want to believe that they were special to someone? He had this way of making me feel like I was the only person who truly mattered. Our relationship blossomed quickly. He'd show up at my office with coffee, leave small notes under my car's windshield wiper, or plan spontaneous dinners at little restaurants that somehow always had the perfect view. Once he even tried cooking my favorite pasta himself. It was slightly overcooked, but the effort made me smile. He looked so proud, like making me happy was his life's purpose. Everyone around me adored him. My friends would whisper, "You're so lucky, Maya," and I couldn't help but agree. I told myself I'd finally found the kind of love people only dream about: patient, caring, and effortless. But life has a cruel way of dressing danger in beauty. I didn't realize that what felt so perfect was just an illusion, a mask carefully designed to win my trust. I didn't know that behind those thoughtful gestures and sweet words, something darker was waiting to surface. Because sometimes when love feels too perfect, it's only perfect until the truth shows its face. It started with little things, small cracks I almost ignored. He would disappear for hours without warning, giving me vague excuses like work emergency, friend in trouble, or my battery died. At first, I didn't question him. I didn't want to seem paranoid or insecure. I told myself it was normal, that everyone needed space sometimes. But then one night I decided to call him unexpectedly. The phone rang and a woman's voice answered instead. "Who is this?" she asked, sounding startled and a little too caught off guard. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. That sinking feeling in my chest was hard to ignore. I confronted Ion later that night, hoping there was a reasonable explanation. But he laughed it off, brushing it away like it was nothing. "It's my cousin," he said. "You're overthinking." He pulled me into a hug and asked softly, "You trust me, right?" And I did. I wanted to. I wanted to believe in the man I loved. But the lies didn't stop there. They began piling up, each one heavier than the last. One day I noticed 2 movie tickets tucked into the glove compartment of his car. Both used and both dated the same day he had told me he was homesick. When I asked, he said casually, "Oh, I got them for a friend." But the faint scent of perfume on the seat wasn't mine. It wasn't proof yet. Not fully. But the air around me suddenly felt different, heavier, charged. It was the smell of betrayal, subtle but undeniable, and I wasn't ready to face the truth. Yet, the truth finally began to surface one afternoon when my friend Sarah called me, her voice trembling with disbelief. She had seen Ion at a cafe, but he wasn't alone. He was with another girl, not just sitting across from her, but holding her hand. Laughing at something she said in the same way he used to laugh with me. Sarah sent me a photo, and in that instant my world went quiet. Every sound seemed to fade. My mind raced, but my heart felt frozen. He had told me he was out of town visiting family, claiming he couldn't even pick up my call that day. I felt a mix of rage, disbelief, and something heavier: betrayal. I called him immediately, my hands shaking, but there was no answer. That night, I sat in my room, staring at my phone, scrolling through old messages. Every "I love you" I had ever read from him now felt like a lie, echoing in a space where trust once lived. But beneath the heartbreak, a stronger voice whispered inside me, "Find out everything." I couldn't just wonder. I needed to know the full truth, so I created a fake profile. A new name, a new face, someone entirely separate from me. Within a week, Ion had contacted her. He flirted casually, complimented her, and even said, "I've never met anyone like you." The same words he had once said to me. Word for word, the more I spoke to him under this new identity, the clearer the picture became. Ion wasn't just cheating on me. He wasn't even in love with anyone. He was using women for money, gifts, status, attention. He was a manipulator hiding behind a mask of love. And I realized that the man I had trusted so completely was nothing but a master of deception. I could have confronted him the moment I discovered the truth. But anger wasn't enough for me anymore. I didn't want a messy argument or temporary satisfaction. I wanted something that would end his pattern once and for all, not just revenge, exposure. So I started collecting proof. Every message, every chat, every voice note, I saved them all. I even recorded one of our phone calls where he laughed and said, "Girls fall for me so easily. You just have to act like you care." Hearing him speak those words with such arrogance made my blood run cold. It wasn't about love for him. It was a game. That's when it stopped being about me. I thought about every woman he had tricked, every person he had made believe they were special. This wasn't just my heartbreak anymore. It was a pattern of manipulation, and I knew exactly how to break it. Ion's behavior followed a script. He charmed, attached, manipulated, and disappeared when he got what he wanted. I had studied his moves long enough to know how to use them against him. So I planned carefully. No rage, no tears. Just quiet precision. I texted him one evening saying there was something important I needed to tell him in person. He replied instantly, eager to meet. When he showed up at the restaurant, he looked as confident as ever. Sharp suit, polished shoes. That same practiced smile he wore when he wanted to look sincere. He had no idea that every word he would speak that night, every fake laugh and every excuse would be recorded. This time it wouldn't be my heart he fooled. It would be his own lies that would destroy him. Asterisk. He greeted me as if nothing had ever happened, his usual confident smile in place. "I missed you, Maya," he said, his voice smooth and casual. I returned the smile, keeping my tone light. "I missed you too." We talked and laughed through the appetizer, and for a brief moment, I could almost see him believing that I had forgiven him. But when dessert arrived, I calmly placed my phone on the table. "It's screen facing him. I know about her, Ion," I said softly, letting the words sink in. His confident expression faltered. "Who?" "The girl from the cafe," I replied. "The one you told me was your cousin." Tried to deny it, stumbling over his words, but I didn't give him the chance to lie. I slid the photos, screenshots, and voice messages across the table toward him. Each one undeniable proof of his betrayal. For the first time, I saw it. Fear, real, raw fear flashing across his eyes. He stammered, "Maya, it's not what you think," I interrupted, my voice steady and sharp. "I know exactly what it is. You pretend to love women so you can use them. You play with emotions because it makes you feel powerful." He froze, speechless, the confident mask shattered. I leaned forward slightly and whispered, "Guess what, Ion? You've been recorded since the moment you walked in." And in that instant, the power shifted completely. The hunter had become the hunted, and he had no idea how completely exposed he was. Asterisk, I uploaded a detailed video online. Carefully crafted, I didn't mention names. But the evidence was clear enough that anyone who knew him would recognize his face. I wasn't trying to destroy him. I wanted him to face the truth, to see what his actions had done, and to realize that his lies had consequences. Almost immediately, women started reaching out to me, sharing their own stories. They too had been fooled, charmed, and manipulated. Some were angry, some heartbroken. But all had been victims of the same pattern I had uncovered. Within days, his carefully built image of perfection began to crumble. Friends who once praised him started to distance themselves. People he had trusted turned against him. His reputation, that polished, untouchable mask he wore so proudly, was shattered. He tried to reach me, sending messages full of apologies, begging me to take the video down, promising he had changed. But I didn't respond, because revenge isn't about yelling, arguing, or making a scene. Sometimes the most powerful form of justice is silence, letting the truth speak for itself. And truth can be louder and more devastating than any lie. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Weeks passed, and I expected to feel hollow, drained by everything that had happened. But instead, a surprising lightness settled over me, as if a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying had been lifted. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for anyone's approval or validation. I wasn't looking for someone else to define my worth. Ion had built his life on lies and fake affection, carefully crafting a world that looked perfect on the outside but was rotten underneath. I, on the other hand, began to rebuild my life on truth, honesty with myself, clarity about what I deserved, and strength I hadn't known I possessed. One evening, I received a message from one of the women he had deceived. She wrote, simply, "Thank you. Because of you, I walked away before it was too late." That message struck me harder than any revenge, any exposure, any confrontation could have. It was proof that my actions had meaning beyond my own. Heartbreak. Because maybe that's what healing truly is, not standing over someone's downfall, but rising above their lies, reclaiming your own life, and knowing that truth and integrity can be far more powerful than anger or revenge. Asterisk, looking back, I realized something I hadn't understood in the moment. Love itself doesn't hurt. It's deception that destroys you. And sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't shouting, confronting, or making someone pay. It's standing tall, knowing that you refuse to let their lies define your value or your life. Ion pretended to love me, but in the end, he only exposed himself. And me came out stronger, wiser, and more aware that trust isn't something to give blindly. It's something to earn. So, if you've ever been lied to, betrayed, or made to feel small, remember this: you don't have to fight back in anger or seek revenge. You just have to focus on your own strength, your own truth. Because no matter how long it takes, lies will crumble, deception will be revealed, and truth always finds a way to rise.